Hi everyone, it's Hans here, the founder of Cappuccino, and welcome to this latest episode of Flat Whites and Insights, a podcast created to allow a space for open, honest and vulnerable conversations with real people, all over a beautiful cup of coffee. We're here in my home, so I'll be providing the flat whites, and my guests, they'll be providing the insights. So grab a coffee for yourselves, take a moment, and I hope you enjoy this latest conversation. Thank you, take care, and enjoy. James.
Cool. Yes.
Hiya.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, thanks for coming over from Marlow, I imagine. Oh, that's where I know you're.
Yeah. No, I live
based.
really near Bourne End. So
Bourne End. Oh,
Marlow.
amazing. Yeah.
All my time in Marlow.
Thank you. Yeah. So, reason I've said Marlow, for those who don't know who you are, is obviously you're co-founder of Cooper's Coffee,
Yeah.
which are now based in Marlow, and that's how we kind of got to know each other. But for today, I think we're gonna kind of maybe find out a little bit more about yourself, as the person, the man. But yeah, for those who don't know who you are, you'd like to give a brief introduction and maybe why you wanted to get involved and jump on the podcast.
Yeah. So obviously, I've known you for a little while now. You came in relatively early doors, I think. Yeah, I'm James from Cooper's, and I set up Cooper's 10 years ago, the same as the dog. Yeah, I was doing design advertising before.
Okay.
And then with the guy, Adrian, I set it up with, he was already into wine. He was like, do you fancy getting into coffee?
Yeah.
And I thought, why not?
Yeah.
Enjoy it, let's give it a go. And it really spiralled very quickly from there into roasting and a cafe. Went to London School of Coffee and
Amazing.
have learned how to roast quite with Morton Munchow. It's awesome. Also got some great podcasts and sites and everything. Yeah, and then it all just turned into this quite large space and roasting community and yeah, great little cafe, I hope.
Yeah, well, I can certainly say, yeah, as a customer, yeah, it's incredible, and I think it's interesting, isn't it? 'Cause it's that kind of like tucked away from like the Marlow High Street, and almost if you on the kind of near like the industrial estate, you would say, like for the work, but I guess it's great for kind of business people on their lunch and people coming, but then it's such a unique space, I guess, and it opens up, and then you've got the roastery there as well, don't you? So it's almost people can see the process.
Yeah. So originally I was looking at high streets and in Henley, Marlow, around and about, and then this place came up quite randomly. We had a look and was actually quite quickly fell in love with the space because it was quite open. It had previously been a fine tuning car garage, so we obviously had to get change use, blah blah blah. But it was also practical because it was out of the way. Could roast without having all the like fuss of having to get permission from council
I can
and stuff for all
imagine
the
doing that on the
food.
high street would be a
But then also it kind of made sense. I was like, it was a bit cheaper for a larger space. If it didn't work, it wouldn't have been the most outrageous thing in the world. But I could just roast coffee. We could maybe use it for other things, and then thought it kind of made sense. Know quite a lot of people in cycling and everything, so it would be a great community space for people to come and go, and just a lot more practical in so many more ways that we hadn't originally thought until I found it. So yeah, it kind of quickly made sense. So yeah, we took it over.
No, amazing. And yeah, no, I love it there. And so you say it was kind of 10 years ago now that was
Scary.
started.
Yeah.
How fast?
Absolutely flies by. So yeah, I was just turning 30. We started talking about it, and then here we are. A decade later, now 40. 41. Yeah, and I got Cooper at the same time. A lot of people think I'm called Cooper or Mr. Cooper.
I know, yeah, I'm certainly guilty. Yeah, I mean, we were just saying before we hit record, so when we first started, because obviously I think where I set up Cappuccino, I was kind of going into that coffee space, and then visited to kind of discovered Cooper's in Marlow.
Yeah, how did you?
I think so. It was actually through Ollie's Coffee.
Oh yeah.
Who I think he's now got Collie Coffee.
Yes.
Who set up.
Yeah.
So Ollie I think I was following him, and I saw that he was kind of, I think he worked based in Wickham at the time, and he would kind of post it on his story a little bit and say, oh, another visit here, and my grandma's from Marlow, so we were in the area quite a lot, and so it was one I hadn't seen, as you say, because it's a bit off the high street.
Yeah.
But as soon as found out about it, then went to have a look, and so I've got Ollie to thank for that, and I know he's now set up his own like Collie's Coffee. I think he's in London now.
Yeah, Ealing. Yeah, he still comes into Coopers a little bit, and see him now and again.
Yeah,
which is really cool. We've got a little bit of a relationship going on, so hopefully we might work with each other in the future.
Oh, amazing!
But you never know.
But it's cool. I think that's where
I think the coffee community is amazing. It's actually people are quite open. Some there's always the odd person who'll be a little bit closed off, but generally people are quite open to talking, like sharing ideas, supporting each other. I'm more than happy to always talk to people, support people, because hospitality is tough. It is really tough industry.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have this idea going into, I really want to set up a cafe, it'll be so cute. And I'm like,
it'll be relaxing and peaceful.
It's not.
And I'll chat to the customers and it'll be all...
Yeah, it's not. You have to be a painter, a decorator, a plumber, electrician, HR person, accounts, and then obviously do your main thing, which is like maybe coffee or food.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot involved, and I think a lot of people would take it for granted. So, I try and give people a better perspective on it before they set up.
Yeah, before they kind of dive into it. Yeah, because it's important, isn't it? To not to sell people a dream, but just to be realistic.
Yeah, because the reason so many close within like about a year is because of that. I think costs are way higher than people would imagine. Staffing is impossible, especially nowadays, even harder. Yes, there's a lot of potential trauma that can come along with it. Genuinely.
And especially when, as part of the 10 years of setting up, there is a pandemic. I know. So Jazz was on, and she was saying, so she was a barista, and actually it was interesting because I asked her what it was like working as a barista during the pandemic, and I was expecting her to be like, it went quiet. It kind of. Business stopped, but she was actually in a small cafe on a walking route, and so it was almost the flip. So she said they went from not being that busy to suddenly people are walking and being out. But that's as a barista, but I guess as a founder, as a kind of managing a cafe business during the pandemic, I imagine that was maybe a little bit part of that trauma that you were saying, or how was that?
Do you know what? Actually, I'd probably say almost the opposite.
Oh, so for you,
it was. I know there was a lot of people who had issues, and during it there was obviously difficult times, but for me personally it was actually quite a positive. I went through a more difficult time a few years ago, so the pandemic felt relatively easy. I was like, I know there's going to be issues, we've got to make, always try and put in some like potential alternative plans. So I was like, if X happens, I'll have to do Y, blah blah blah. Because the government helped quite quickly, that was useful, so I could put people on furlough. So that obviously when we closed, I just used that time to clean. But because I roast coffee, it was a really useful side to it. So I tried to also be a little bit a part of the community. I'd roast coffee, I could drop it off at people's doorsteps, I could literally lob it on the doorstep, step back, maybe have a little chat, especially if people were living alone. I think that was another part of the community that came to the forefront. So it was actually quite good. And then I used the space later on when people could sort of interact in bubbles or whatever it was to have another local shop use it for boxing fruit and veg and to give to people who most needed it. So there were some useful parts to it as well. So I don't know, it wasn't all that terrible. I just also knew that coming out of it would be a lot more difficult. Which I felt like a lot of people weren't thinking. They're like, "Oh my God, you're right. This must be so tough." And I was like, "It's not that."
In a way, it's been nice. It's quiet. I had a bit more time to myself.
I could have I could breathe, because 7 days a week before that it was a lot. And it went sort of down to not a lot. I used the time to really deep clean, do more roasting, and then come up with other plans for what we'd do gradually as we could open. The team were really good at that point. So we just worked through it.
Amazing. So it was
kind of useful.
In a way,
alternative way.
Gave you a way. And so you mentioned about being able to breathe there. and that time maybe a little bit more time, yes, to do jobs around Coopers, but do you find it gave you more time like for yourself as well?
Yeah, 100%.
I know you love a dog walk. I know we see. Well, I know I see on your Instagram stories, kind of like taking Cooper out early in the morning, and that's obviously like maybe a part of your routine. But in terms of maybe then self-care or time for yourself, what kind of what's maybe your go-to? What are your hobbies?
Yeah, Cooper,
Yeah.
absolute lifesaver. So going back a few years, not long after we set up Cooper's, we also did a restaurant.
Okay.
Huge mistake.
Where was that based? Was that
in Bournemouth? So
okay?
it was valuable experience. Learned a lot. But restaurants are another ball game as well. We set it up, and I was really proud of it.
Yeah.
It was about 5 years in the end. But it was like staffing is really difficult, and it's in an area which, while it's quite affluent, it's quite hard to get people who like you could pay enough in order to, because it's quite a complicated space in many ways. You want to pay people enough, but then also profits aren't huge, so kind of there's only so much. You can
There's only so
do.
much you can. Yeah.
The rent was really high, then the business rates are really high, so it was a spiraling like cost.
Just felt like a money pit. It was
a little bit, yeah. And you kept pushing and changing and working, and at that point I worked out there was quite a few months where I was working 115 hours a week because Cooper's was open. I'd be there from 6. I'd get in up at 5:30, take the dog out quickly, and then I'd then have to like work until midday 2ish, and then go into the restaurant until like midnight, and then clean up. And so during that whole period, taking the dog out was probably what stopped me completely going insane. It was a dark period of time, especially when I made the decision to close. Feel like a failure, but you know, you go through these things. I think being really low, very dark, not. I had to really use my close knit of friends. Yeah, so that was tough actually.
No, I can see you talking about it there. No, it's. I think no, and as you say about that feeling like a failure, and it's so difficult. I think when you not tie your identity into something, but it is your self-worth or you think that it can become quite in this bubble of yourself, and you're like, this is who I am now. I've got the restaurant, got the cafe. And for myself, it was the PhD that I kind of had as like, and you almost say that one of the hardest decisions was probably actually making the decision to close it.
Yeah.
Even though it was long hours, even though it was stress, because that was accepting that it's not going to work. It's not what I set it out to be. So it can be difficult. But like you say, those close knit friends at that time, and they realise whatever you're doing, your what isn't like your who is who you are.
Yeah.
And they're probably like love you and support you because of the man you are, not because of the fact you own a restaurant and own a cafe. And
which is where the self-care bit is, because I think you need to kind of have that little community around you, whether it's your friends or family, whatever you've got, and building that. I've lived in sort of the Marlow Bournemouth area for nearly 20 years now. Actually, 20 years.
20 years.
Half of my life.
This is where time's going again. So
and I think it's important for everyone to try and find that. Whether it's like you've got football, or maybe it's some sport, or just friends. I think it's really good for people in the dark times as well as the good times to celebrate and commiserate together. So
I think
it really pulls you through it, and then sometimes you need time for yourself. But I think having those people is really important.
Yeah, and people who have kind of been they're with you through the hard times. So and then when like the good times, and they're genuinely happy for you being happy. Yeah, and that's really lovely feeling. I think when people are just, or I got set close knit group of friends, or when I see them doing well, it's just you just feel so proud of them, but also just happy because you know that it's something that they've kind of set out to achieve.
Yeah, definitely.
I think when I was younger, I think everyone when I started going to secondary school, it was like the Facebook era, and friends, and it's like it's all based on a number. Like who's got the most friends and this that.
Yeah.
That's kind of social media Although I'm glad I'm not growing up now
Yeah.
with even more of it and everything. And it
100%.
feels like there's a bit of an emphasis on that, the numbers. And I know, like, even on Instagram, which is where I spend a lot of time, obviously, with Cappuccino, certain posts now, you can turn off the like count. And
Yeah.
I used to worry about that a lot when I was setting it up, like followers and what's my ratio of followers to people I'm following. And but now it's about the connection and the quality of the interactions you have.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
it's similar, I guess, with friends and friendship groups. Like now, it's about having that good set of core,
Yeah.
your good
Agreed.
circle, rather than, trying to just be friends with everyone, because it's just not possible.
No, that is very true.
Yeah.
Very true. So, social media is a huge thing nowadays, isn't it? I really feel lucky that I didn't grow up with it in some ways. You can see people's anxiety seems like be exponential because of it in many ways. And I don't know, it's a bit of a concern for some of these people in this generation who really focus on that. And you kind of hope that maybe they can just step away from it a little bit more. They're comparing themselves to something which is unrealistic a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I think. So I do use it, obviously, with the business. I don't really have a personal one. So I talk to people like Cooper.
That's why everyone thinks you're Cooper, as which we're flipping back. That is what we were going to say before mentioning Ollie. Like, that is. I remember when I first went in, because I'd seen like Ollie and one of your members of staff was behind the bar, and they were like, "Oh, can we help?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I'm looking to speak to Cooper," and they were like,
"You can."
No,
he's on the sofa.
He's a Labrador. And then they were like, "Oh, James, okay." But sorry, as you were saying, like social media.
Yeah, I mean, it's got some benefits, and we can use it for some good, promote good things. But yeah, there is that concern, an edge to it, which I'd worry about a lot of people. I don't spend loads of time on it. I do use it. I think it's nice to promote products and sort of another community side to it. But also, just step back from it quite a bit. And,
I'm aware.
Overly focused.
Yeah, I'm wary. I use it quite a lot, but then each of them is slightly different. So, Instagram initially, I didn't have my face and name to it. More for, I think there was a little bit of shame on my part of talking about these things, which I'd grown up in an all boys school. I grew up not really talking about emotion, so it felt uncomfortable. It felt unnatural, and I think I was worried people would discover it was me, and then be like, "Oh, so that's who he really is. Oh, he feels all these things.
What's wrong with him?
What's wrong with him?"
Nothing.
Or exactly.
I think it's good for people to open up and sort of learn the background of someone and that vulnerable side, because I think we all grow from it.
Yeah, definitely. Particularly in not just friends, family, but I even think like in the workplace or something like within like where you can create a space that people can be authentic.
Yes,
we've definitely 100%. Got that now at work. Like people come in and it's not like I wouldn't say there's what an employee at Barks and Bugs FA looks like, because everyone is so different. And that's really cool. And some people who you think just wouldn't work or wouldn't connect, like because everyone's comfortable being themselves, they're probably then more willing to make mistakes or more willing to, pop their head up and say, maybe we could try this, rather than, conforming.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's
I think one thing I did really want from Cooper's when I did set it up was I wanted people to come in, obviously have a great coffee, but leave, like, no matter what they came in feeling, leave a little bit happier. That was kind of like always the line in my head that I wanted. Part of the reason I set it out as it was, obviously I have chairs which I can wipe down in case the cyclists come along, etc. But quite just natural, big long table, which they've slightly split up recently, obviously with changes. But I felt like, although it might push people slightly out of that comfort zone, which I'm a big keen person on, I love getting out of the comfort zone. Having the long table where people could sit by themselves, but then potentially be kind of near people,
near enough
without and some people would open up conversations with strangers, and I enjoyed that side of it. I think it was a really good aspect of it, and I'm quite happy and proud of that.
Yeah, certainly.
And also I just wanted people to be, because I go places by myself all the time.
No, I'm the same. I love going to like a new coffee shop or a new cafe.
Yeah, and some are a bit uncomfortable. But I didn't want anyone to ever feel like that, which is partly why I chose the staff I chose and tried to just be open with people and try and make them feel welcome, as well as the space giving that feeling of...
Yeah, it's quite
you could
cozy,
slightly
isn't
tuck
it?
in the corner, but you could also sit right out in the middle if they were interested. So that was a big part of the whole experience for me.
No, and I think certainly it's something I've experienced myself. I love, and I think almost the contrast maybe of you're in maybe near the industrial estate, near the offices and stuff, but then you kind of go in there and it's a very cozy immediately, like with the armchairs I know that are there, and then you've got like the roastery at the back, and it's just it just gives really comfortable, cozy feeling, and
which is always
and lots of fellow dog lovers as well.
Loads.
which I mean you must love as well.
Yeah,
because you get to all the regulars.
Cooper not so much always.
Oh really?
The puppies.
They
fly in his face, he'll tell them off, but
he's like, this is my house.
Get out of my face. But, and then people just interact over a coffee.
Yeah, which is amazing.
A supportive space for people if they want to just quietly talk to other people and their friends or anything. Yeah, all sorts of meetings. Friends, family.
Yeah, it's the one that I always try to tell people because it's a bit out of the way as well. Yeah, or if I'm meeting up with friends, old uni mates, and we'll kind of meet up maybe on the high street. We'll walk to it, and then people always want to come back. So that's good. Yeah, positive. I was even saying to one of them, I was catching up with some uni mates last weekend, and they were asking me about the podcast and things because it's still relatively new.
Yes.
And I was saying that I was going to be speaking to yourself this weekend, and one of my uni mates is his partner. She was like, "Oh, I think I followed him. He walks the Labrador in the morning." I was like, "That's him." Yeah.
I often post, less the last 2 or 3 weeks, just because I've been pretty crazy full on, but there's a lot of people mention that, so I've kept it going. It's my little ritual routine for people to see us in the morning. Well, Cooper. And the weather, which I'm like literally just wake up and tell you what the weather is.
It's almost like you don't need to look out the window.
But some people are like, I just look at it from bed.
So you get community service.
That's brilliant.
No, where we haven't actually, we've got some coffee here, so I'll...
Awesome.
We'll have a little bit of a break. But and thank you, I should say as well. I know you brought some of your new Marlow blend over for me to try, so I'll definitely be giving that a go. And
just something a little bit different, a mix of Guatemala and Ugandan, that one.
Nice.
Something a bit different.
Okay. But so something, I guess you mentioned 10 years of Cooper's. Was that your first introduction to coffee completely?
Yeah, kind of. Obviously I drank a bit of coffee.
Yeah.
I knew I liked decent coffee. That's where it started, really. So I was pretty into the deep end. Yeah. I don't go halvesies on anything.
You were straight. You said about getting out your comfort zone. And...
Yeah, I think it's really good for people, mentally and physically and anything. I do it now and again. As soon as I turned 18, I jumped out of a plane. Okay. I turned 30, I did a marathon. Never really run before, but I was like, let's just do it. Rowing, love rowing. So that was where a lot of my friendships have sort of started in Marlow.
Yeah.
And my main goal for that was to race at Henley. Did that. So I'm like, try and have little goals to achieve. They don't always go to plan, but but this is where getting out of your comfort zone, I think, pushes you and makes you realise that you can do more than you think quite often.
No, 100%. I can really relate.
And it can bring up anxiety and
it can be scary.
Emotions, but I think when you can get past those, you realise that you can achieve more. And it hopefully limits some of the anxiety on if you then revisit it or try and go on to the next thing and push yourself past it. Yeah,
definitely. No, and I think even, as you said, those sometimes those challenging experiences or you mentioned actually the pandemic to you'd had that challenging time with the restaurant before, so it's almost, it prepares you. And I know for myself, the pandemic for a lot of people, a lot of time alone, a lot of time with themselves, with their thoughts, is not always comfortable. But actually, because of the time when I'd burnt out and I'd kind of had coping mechanisms in place, almost at that point I was almost grateful for the challenges I'd had, because I was quite comfortable with being in my own space and in my own head, which I wouldn't have been if I hadn't have had the breakdown, the therapy. If I'd have been still the me striving to achieve in the PhD, to having to suddenly stop, I don't know how I would have reacted to that, actually. With the comfort zone, I mean, initially I didn't even want to put my face or name to this page. Now I'm doing a podcast. So it's literally like now I'm on camera talking, and just being open and vulnerable, and to think that the me of 6-7 years ago didn't even want people I went to school with to know that I struggled with my mental health. So sometimes it's like taking stock and realising.
Yeah, and that's a really nice side. It shows you're open and willing. Which will
willing to
hopefully draw people in, and give them some comfort and as well, maybe.
And for me, it's one of the nicest things about it is then people, either if I know them or not, just messaging me and saying, "Oh, thank you, like you for being open," or just made them consider something called be open, or even like say yourself, like before we record, I was like, have you done any like podcasts before? And like you said about coming out your comfort zone, and then you said, no, this is like the first one, and like coming over. So it's really cool. And no, it's great to hear from your perspective as well, I guess, about, not when you set up a cafe, when you set up a restaurant, it's not an easy ride, as you say.
No, it's really
you're going to be uncomfortable.
And you've got to get used to it a little bit, being in that headspace.
And is it?
And physical space. Sometimes it's long hours, exhausting. You just get through it, and then emotionally draining sometimes. But you learn to get through that again as well. And I really think all these things build you. Excuse me. And then your future self can benefit from it, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Love it. No, and one of the things, I guess, hearing you speak about the strains and the stresses of running it, then is it then difficult to, when you're there, when you're at say Cooper's, having to then, the customer service side of it as well. So sometimes I know sometimes I've popped in and like you've probably been busy doing stuff, and I'm like, oh Jane, how you doing? And there's part of you which, if there's something you really need to get done, then having to drop and do then the customer service side of things, which though maybe that is a part of the bit you enjoy, I guess. Seeing people and making them feel happy. But if you are a bit of an off day, maybe it's then really difficult to put on that front and be like, everything's great.
There was a period of time when it was awful. Like I said, towards the end of the restaurant. But then I had some really good close customers, which I'd become friends with, and then a few of them would come in. I cried with one once, which was kind of awkward. But then, do you know what? These things happen. And I think, if people, most of the time though, if people are coming over and I'm busy, it's not really a problem. I just sort of have a chat and I'll work and talk at the same time. People know you're busy, potentially. So I think people are quite accepting in that. But then quite often I am able to create a bit of time anyway to talk with people, especially now. So last year I had someone take over front of house and kitchen.
Okay.
So it's like shifted the dynamic quite a lot for me. So I just focus on roasting coffee now.
Okay.
And then sort of all my wholesale customers and retail customers. So I am in Cooper's quite a bit still, especially mornings. So Mondays, Tuesdays roasting, deliveries, and then Wednesday, Thursday, Friday just sort of topping up retail and then talking basically. So I still do a lot of that. So that's obviously a lot easier now. I don't really have particular issues with creating time to talk to people. It was difficult sometimes, but no, it was all right. It's part of the job, I guess. And the business. And for me, it was really important anyway, because I felt like the customers were the main point of the whole place. So,
and I guess it's without them, there
wasn't anything.
But
I've enjoyed it anyway, and then having staff talking to customers as well in the right way, I guess. Sort of being polite and having a nice chat and conversation and getting to know people, not just serving them. I think it's really good. And hopefully that has helped people. I know some people have come along and I know met their other halves on their first ever date there, and
nice.
things like that. And I have like had people come up to me crying as well, and then just sort of being there, because sometimes I think it's easier to go to someone you don't really know. You kind of know of them, you know, it's a relatively safe space.
So you say you trust them,
Yeah.
but you don't know them at that personal level.
Yeah, and I think you can sometimes open up more easily to start with those slight strangers.
I think I can relate, because I mean, even now, and it's something I've kind of definitely in my recent therapy have touched on, is like friends or my partner. Like my partner is probably the person I can open up to the most, and really has been that foundation, because we've been together 12 years now.
Yeah.
So she's known me almost when I was that person studying and the academic and then seen the burnout, the breakdown, seen me kind of go through it all, but she's been that one consistent.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Yeah.
And very much, I don't know where I'd be or what would have happened without her, really. But in terms of like my family, I think because we never really spoke much growing up about emotions, and where like my mum and my mum split, so we just didn't have like a thing. So even now I feel more uncomfortable probably talking to my family than I would a stranger.
I think
like
a
my
lot
friends,
of people
and it's
do.
just,
Which is probably why therapists do work, because you don't really know them.
No.
But they know your backstory.
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
open up to them, and they're not going to spread it.
No, exactly. yeah. And it's almost that, you know that you're not there, especially because I struggle with people pleasing quite a lot. So you know that, like, and it was interesting, my therapist almost caught on that, like after about 3 or 4 sessions, she was like, look, you don't have to impress me.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to tell me the work you've done in between, like, if you just be honest, because, and it was quite harsh, and initially I was a bit like, oh no, she doesn't like me. But actually, that really was a turning point, because then I was like, okay, this is a space where actually, for once, I don't have to be trying to please someone or impress someone. It's just being honest. And I think having those, as you say, people that maybe not strangers as such. But for you as well, that must be quite humbling in a way, that people feel that the space you've created is so welcoming, and such a warm space that people feel they can.
Definitely. Yeah, no, it's really nice. It's something I'm proud of. Like, people might not always say it's easy to be proud of something, but it definitely is. There's lots of, like, such an eclectic mix of customers. It's been a fascinating journey, actually, because you see people from various walks of life, whether they're like CEOs of quite large companies, or stay-at-home mums, or
athletes. I know you've got a few.
Like loads of really high-flying athletes, but they've all got their own journeys as well, and difficult days, great days. You see some of them going through hard times, but they're like taking a minute out, which is great as well. So but then you can also celebrate the good times with them. So it's been absolutely amazing, and some of them have helped me as well along the way. So there's like a bit of a two-way street there, I'd say. So
definitely amazing. No, so
an interesting public space.
And that's what you say. It's so much more than just the coffee. The coffee is almost it's the main
like
product.
The cement almost.
Yeah,
it's bringing all these little bits together.
Yeah, and obviously the coffee, it's got to be good coffee, because obviously that's what people are going there and coming for. Yeah, and it is great coffee.
I hope
I'd
so.
say.
I really have.
Well, I'll let you know. You give me this back.
I've really focused on trying to make sure I would buy good coffee, good supply chain. I know that people go to the farmers; they get a fair price.
Yeah.
I probably should, in some ways, make more money per coffee than I do, but I try to give people a quality product at a not ridiculous price, because I just think it's a fair thing to do.
Especially at the moment, some prices of some things.
And it's skyrocketed. I mean, it's more difficult, because obviously everything for me has gone up, but I've tried to make changes in certain places to offset that, but and it just take a bit of a hit as well, so see how that goes. I'm definitely not living in a mansion, which some people think I'm living in a gold mine, but I've got my little 1-bed flat with my dog, so but life is good, and I'm happy with it, and which I think we need to all sort of be grateful for what we've got in many ways, because we all have difficult times, so
I think so. Sometimes
make
it's
the most of the good ones as well.
Really do enjoy, and don't almost feel guilty for celebrating the good times, and
definitely
being, like you said, being proud of what you've created, and being, which almost contradictory to that, the next question I was going to ask, because I know we are saying about being grateful for the now and what you've got, and I think it's really great how you've explained that. You just mentioned about setting yourself little goals, and I don't know if they're internal. You probably don't want to maybe like vocalize them in case it's like, oh, it's on record, but what's he going to do? But and you said about coming out your comfort zone, but so that's 10 years group. In the next few years, are there any goals you have, whether that's for business or personal?
Right at this minute, I've actually recently thought about that, and I haven't got anything on the front of my mind at the moment. I wanted to settle in. I redid the website and a few little bits. So I've just been really trying to enjoy the last year. Catching up with friends and family, which I've not been able to for nearly 9 years properly. Just having some really good times with people instead of going, oh, I might be able to make it, but I'm probably going to be working. So there's been a lot of that.
Like shifting that balance a little bit towards...
So I've been grateful for friends and family sticking by me. And not disappearing because I've not been able to see them. But I don't know right now, actually.
No,
I'll have to come back to that one.
That's all right. No, yeah, it's sometimes that's quite nice, because I think even the fact that you don't know, or for me, like I know you saying that, it shows that you're in the moment a bit more. Maybe you're just enjoying the now.
I really am.
Like it doesn't actually matter right now what the future looks like, because right now you're enjoying.
Yeah. So I've done some like little challenges which have got me out of my comfort zone a long way. So on the personal side, I've always quite enjoyed fit. Well, actually, school. I thought I went to a state school. Not. Okay. It was decent enough education, but I thought exercise was football and rugby, and that was it. And I was rubbish at them. So I was like, oh, I can't do sport. But then I left, started rowing. I was like, oh, maybe I can do something. So I really got into that, and then during lockdown, one of my customers, very good friends now, they set up a boot camp. So for them, lockdown was actually a really interesting time. It's now a fully fledged business.
Amazing.
So I've been doing that a lot. And so we all did the Spartan races last year. So that was my 40th year goal. So I did do that, achieved that on the whole weekend. We did all 3. Yeah. A little bit stupid, but also pretty awesome. And then this year we did a couple of, while it's not a CrossFit gym, we did do a couple of CrossFit competitions. Oh, cool. So that was slightly pushing me out of my comfort zone.
You might have competed against my sister, maybe. Oh, she's based at Henley, ADVQ gym, Henley. Okay, yeah. And she kind of started coaching there, but they enter competitions. Cool. It might not be CrossFit. I might be totally wrong, but they do like kind of like
there's challenges. There's all sorts of challenges.
And she's telling me to do like burpees and the weights and the this, that, and the other. You can tell I'm not someone who does that. I'm like, you're lifting something. But yeah, so she's kind of got really into that as well. But
so I probably won't do many more, but it was good to give it a go. So there's those little things, but right now probably nothing much.
I love that. It doesn't always have to be onto the next. It's something I've learned. I'm getting a lot better at just settling, enjoying what I'm doing now.
Yeah, I feel like something will come along soon. But I'm just waiting
you'll get like
to see
that.
what
You'll get
happens.
that itch or something.
Yeah,
like,
I'm enjoying the chill at the moment.
Nice.
Little downtime.
Yeah,
just focusing on work and like build that up a little bit, because I could do with a little bit more coming in, but it's good.
Amazing. And okay, I think I'm gonna start to round up. But a question that I've tried to ask everyone, and there are a few I have forgotten. I'm new to this. But yeah, so a question that I think is interesting just to kind of get an insight into people is like, what does happiness mean to you?
Oh, okay, yes. For me, happiness is definitely people. Spending time with people I absolutely love, friends and family, and having just some good laughs together. And the down times, but like just being there for each other. I think without that, I don't think I could have happiness. And then obviously my little doggo, of course. And just sharing really good times with the people. And sometimes strangers, bringing them in to the fold and talking and having a good time. But definitely people.
I love that, because I think, that's great. I think people, it's that connection, isn't it?
Connection,
And moments, it's when you share moments with people, because that's when they like become memories, because you can then reminisce and things
we've
like
got
that.
to keep building them and keep having good memories.
Amazing.
Moments of time too.
Perfect. Thanks, James.
You're welcome.
Thanks
you.
very much for coming on. I will let you know how the coffee is. I'm sure it's going to be
Fingers crossed it's good.
Yeah. And I really appreciate just hearing about a bit about your story, and I think it will really help people, particularly as you mentioned the kind of like the restaurant time and that, you know, people might, as you say, look at you and think, oh, owns Coopers, it's all, you know,
Dreamy.
success, dreamy, like you say in the mansion, but you know, there's always, you know, the story. I think people and that's the danger. Maybe people just compare themselves to people's highlights.
Yeah.
And there's a road that's got you to where you are.
For sure. A rocky one.
A rocky one, yeah. But as you say, enjoying the chill time now. But
Awesome.
thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me.
That's right, and I'll have to get down to Coopers again soon.
Yeah, see you soon.
Yeah.
Good to meet you.
Cheers. Thank you so much for tuning in to this latest episode of Flat Whites and Insights, and I really hope you gained something from that conversation. I know I certainly did. It would mean a lot if you can like and subscribe on whatever platform you may be watching or listening on, but also if you head over to Instagram and give me a follow at Cappuccino. This is the best place to contact me, but also see the latest developments on the platform as we look to increase awareness of mental health through my passions for coffee and football. In addition, if you've heard something that you can relate to or you want to talk about a little bit more, feel free to message me on that platform. But also, if you fancy coming on yourself and having a conversation, then do let me know, because I'm always keen to connect with new people and get insights into other areas and other passions and other challenges that I might have no experience of myself. Thanks again, and I really hope you tune in for the next episode. Take care of yourselves. I've been Hans. Thank you.